Now, this decision, while the court all came together on the outcome, they all had slightly, or several of them had slightly different reasons. So you had 5 justices here, a majority, speaking with one voice, saying that the Colorado Supreme Court was wrong, that Trump must win because Congress hadn't passed a law to kind of enforce how this section of the Constitution would work. You had liberal justices offering different reasons for why they believe the Colorado Supreme Court was wrong. A lot to digest in this, but the bottom line is they all agreed that Trump's arguments would carry the day in this case. I don't think that is a surprising result. After the arguments, where I think they all signaled they were highly skeptical of state efforts to disqualify a presidential candidate. The Chief Justice, for example, saying that essentially you would let one state dictate, or a handful of states dictate the outcome of the election. So I don't think this is a surprise. The Colorado Supreme Court was kind of off on a trip of their own with this ruling. Other state courts that had decided it had went a different outcome. So here we are. The decision now unanimous in agreement that Trump's arguments will carry the day. He cannot be disqualified from state ballots.
Yeah, maybe not surprising, but bracing in its clarity, 9-0. Also, that is quick work. Let's go to CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, thank you for being with us. I know you had 3 or 4 possible lines of thought that the court might take in ruling in Donald Trump's favor here and against the states. Which one ended up being the one they took?
Route number 1, which is that states can't do this alone. I counted a majority for that you would need Congress to act first and to provide some sort of enabling legislation. But this is exactly what Jan said it is, which is the court speaking with one voice on the big thing, which is the outcome. And the outcome is we're reversing the Colorado Supreme Court. And the rationale here really is we don't want states to be able to do this. And you heard this during oral arguments. You heard the justices towards the end of those hours coalesce around the idea that we're very worried states could do it alone, create this kind of patchwork when it comes to federal elections. And here's the Supreme Court, I think, doing what we typically think they can't do on these big controversial cases, uniting and saying, no, Colorado was wrong, and here are the reasons. And as Jan laid out, the reasons do splinter a bit. Justice Barrett writing a separate concurring opinion and the liberal justices writing their own concurring opinion.
Jessica and Jan, you could take this one as well. I mean, one of the questions I think people will have here is, there's an idea in the minds of about 50% of the electorate, if not a little bit more, that Donald Trump is an insurrectionist. As Liz Cheney said, he summoned the mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flames of this attack. And so the question becomes, did the Supreme Court weigh in on the merits of that particular label, Jessica, if you could take it?
So it doesn't look like that's what this hinges on. What this hinges on is instead when Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that post-Civil War amendment that says that we're worried about people who fought in the Confederacy from once again serving in government, what specifically that says. This was not a factual trial on the merits of whether or not there was an insurrection and whether or not the former president gave aid or comfort to those who engaged in an insurrection. And of course, I would defer to Jan on the rest of that.
Jan, do you want to weigh in on that aspect of it?
No, I mean, Jessica's absolutely right. I don't see anything in here that suggests they jumped in. They weren't going to decide that anyway. They didn't have to in this case, although that also came up at argument, Tony, with some of the justices pointing out that President Trump was never charged with the crime of insurrection. So how could a state court even make these decisions, kind of counseling against that ruling at the Colorado Supreme Court?
All right. We also have Bob Costa for us, Robert Costa, as I like to say off the top, giving his full legal name. He does not have a JD. He's the only person other than me who doesn't. But you do know politics. So how is this all going to be filtered through campaign 2024?
Tony, you're hitting a sore spot. Both my parents are attorneys, and they're disappointed in me. But we're waiting to see a response from the Trump campaign and the Trump legal team at this time. But talking to sources close to the former president, they're feeling good about this already in text messages in the last few minutes. But they also know the specter of January 6th and scrutiny of the former president's actions remains very much a part of this campaign. Yes, he will be on the Colorado ballot. Yes, this addresses other issues about ballot access across the country. But looming on the horizon is a possible January 6th trial in Washington, D.C. on the federal level, as well as a January 6th trial potentially in Georgia in Fulton County. So this takes some of the issues off the table regarding January 6th for Trump, but not everything.
You know, Bob, the reason I asked that question about the merits of the term insurrection and whether the court weighed in on that aspect of it is because it's easy to imagine Donald Trump using this ruling in many different broad ways to exonerate himself, in a term he's used before. Do you expect to see him using this out on the stump?
100%, Tony. When I spoke to former President Trump just a few weeks ago in New York, he said essentially the courtroom is now the campaign trail. And you can expect him to be outside federal courthouses and in front of a courthouse in Lower Manhattan starting later in March when he has a criminal hush money payments trial that's scheduled to begin. That's going to be 6 weeks long. And you can expect him to, yes, hold rallies, but really try to dominate the national conversation as someone who's aggrieved about the legal establishment in this country. For President Biden, it's a difficult issue to address because it's the Justice Department and the court.
All right, Robert Costa, you get the final word. Robert, thank you very much. And thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jessica Levinson, for reading that opinion very quickly. Just posted after 10 a.m., 9-0, Donald Trump cannot be disqualified from a state ballot. Our coverage of this Supreme Court decision will continue on CBS News, streaming your local news, and tonight on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell. Many of you will return now to CBS Mornings. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Tony DeCopel, CBS News, New York.
You've just been listening to that special report from CBS News, recapping the major news at the top of the hour. Unanimously, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled to not disqualify Donald Trump from the Colorado ballot after the state Supreme Court in that state tried to do that based upon the 14th Amendment and his role in the January 6th of 2021 riots or insurrection, determining whether he played a role in that or not.
And as you mentioned, it was a unanimous decision, but the justices issued their opinions citing many different reasons. And of course, reporters going through those decisions right now to get more information about the specifics as to why the justices decided the way they did, ruled the way they did.
And he could not be removed from the ballot.
Correct. But again, it was unanimous, as you pointed, which is rare in many Supreme Court rulings. And of course, Illinois also has a case dealing with whether the former president's name can be on the ballot here. That was sort of paused pending this outcome.
Correct. It's going to have far-reaching implications, and of course, we'll continue to cover this throughout the day.